Matthew, everyday audiophile, music lover, and beer enthusiast. Now, before we get started, as always, let's crack this open. This is the Lakewood Temptress Imperial Stout, but not just any version of it. This is the nitro version. So, when you look at a stout, or any beer really, if it is nitro, then instead of the CO2, you have nitrous bubbles, and that causes the bubbles to be smaller, which then leads to a smoother taste. And indeed, that is smooth and super delicious. All right, so if you thought buying lacquers from SuperSense was crazy just because of how expensive it is, right? This is $500 an album, cut on lacquer, not pressed on a vinyl, then you absolutely are going to think that $900 for an album is crazy. Especially when this album is also cut from the same people that do SuperSense. It's just Burmester instead. And you know, with Burmester, they are all about quality and just the experience of opening the record. And this is no exception. The opening experience, the unboxing experience is exquisite, to say the least. The box itself is very nicely made. It's not the cardstock that you have here on the SuperSense. And overall, it just exudes a sense of quality. But why would you get this? Before I answer that question, let's talk about what I don't like about this. First, it's $900. That makes me pretty crazy to get it. But I got it because I was curious, not because I'm necessarily a collector of these things, though I could have you fooled by the 15 other lacquers that I have in my collection. It's just that album, Oscar Peterson's We Get Requests, is become a recent favorite of mine. I even talked about it in my last video with Gen 2 Player. And I was just genuinely curious about what a lacquer would bring compared to a very well-received Analog Productions vinyl. Before I talk about what I liked, let's talk about what I didn't like. And besides the cost, we know that $900 is absolutely obscene for any record purchase. At that price, you could buy 2 tapes. And if you're in a reel-to-reel, that's a much better deal than $900 for a single record. When you listen to every other recording of this album, you're listening to a version of it that's mastered. And that is the allure of this Pure Sound series or the Master Cut series from SuperSense. It's all about a direct one-to-one from the tape that has not been mastered at all. So it is just as it was recorded, so to speak. That doesn't mean it's better. And I really want to get that point across. This version of this album, in my opinion, isn't any better or worse than something like the Analog Productions 45 of the album. They both have things that I like, and they both have things that I don't like. For example, in track 3 of the Lacquer, so My One and Only Love, there is a pretty substantial amount of distortion in the left channel. It sounds like the mic was just turned up too hot, and you can hear it. It doesn't ruin the experience. It doesn't ruin the sound of the song or the album, but for that 1.5 tracks, you get a pretty loud distortion, and it's not something that's there really in any of the other mastered recordings. Really, aside from that though, that's kind of my only overarching complaint about the lacquer as far as sound quality is concerned. There's a noise floor that's in these records that isn't quite as loud in other recordings, so the Analog Production or any digital version that you have, and I have to attribute that to really excellent mastering. On the positive side though, what you get from this is even more micro details. And I know I have been using that word a lot. Micro details, what does that exactly mean? In this case, this is the first time that I've ever listened to the album, and you can hear what sounds like chit chat between the musicians as they're playing their instruments. I feel like if I was critically listening, I may have picked this up in some of the digital recordings, but it comes through so clearly on the lacquer that you can start to understand what they're actually talking about in the background while you're listening to the music. And, some people may find that distracting, but I think it's just really interesting that it comes through so clearly when it doesn't in any other recording that I've heard. Additionally, on the double bass on the right-hand side, it's not quite as fat and juicy compared to, say, one of the digital recordings, but it sounds more lifelike. You can hear a little bit more of the voicing of the double bass itself, and even hear his hand moving across the fingerboard. I think that is just a wonderful touch that I don't get in the digital recordings. But it's really that sound that you're hearing all the way through. It is way more intimate. It sounds like you're there in person. But again, it's $900. And that's where it becomes really tough for me to recommend something like this. I want everyone to be able to listen to this and open it and experience it. So instead, what I can do is offer a 30-second needle drop. Just like the SuperSense lacquers, I have been recording this. I recorded this on the first time that it was played, so for those that say lacquers degrade over time, this is as good of a needle drop as it's going to get. At the end of the day, it will have to be "You Look Good to Me." 30 seconds of that glory, because it is, as I said earlier, a wonderful track to listen to. It's just captivating listening to the bassist and the drums. It's just chef's kiss. It's wonderful. So now that I've briefly covered what I do like and what I don't like about it, let's open it up. Let's see what's on the inside. So, a slight difference from the SuperSense is that this comes with a booklet on the outside. And this booklet just includes, it's nicely embossed on the front there. The presentation of this is really second to none. It is nice, full pictures. And it gives you just the story of the musicians and the story of how the album came together. And the story of cutting the lacquer and the motivation behind wanting to do something like this. For those that are wondering, I have number 57 out of 333. That's slightly different on the SuperSense side, where they do the first 99, and then after that they'll do another 400 or 500. So this is 333 limited total. And then on the inside there, we have the lacquer. Now, I'll post a picture here. The nice thing about a lacquer that doesn't come through until you have it out in the light is that a normal vinyl in the light is just white. You can see the reflection and it's just white. A lacquer is rainbow. And I was so awestruck by that the first time that I took it out and held it. It is a gorgeous piece of lacquer to hold, and it's really hard to describe until you see it in person. So hopefully the video here helps with showing that rainbowy color that you get. With that out of the way, who is this for? I want to say collectors, because those are the only people that would pay $900 for an album. I can certainly say that unless the second one in the series is something that I truly care about, there ain't no way in hell that I'm spending $900 again. It's hard enough to spend the $500 on the SuperSense, so doubling that is an even tougher thing, especially when I'm trying to get into reel-to-reel. I have 2 or 3 albums that I have in mind that I want to buy, and instead I bought this. So yeah, I guess I'm crazy. Well, that about wraps up this pretty quick review of the Burmester Pure Sound Oscar Peterson We Get Requests lacquer. It definitely is a enlightening experience to listen to, and if you ever get the chance, I would highly encourage you listen to it. Maybe not buy it, but listen to it. And for those that are interested, you can click on the link below in the description to get to the 30-second needle drop. And until then, I will chat with y'all next week. See ya.